But in a nutshell, as a business, you could have a really good product, you can have it at a really good price, you can be doing it quicker or faster or better than anyone else. But if people don't like your brand, you're not safe. Hello, welcome to another InGear Media Podcast. And today I want to focus a little bit more on some of perhaps the macro elements behind somebody's business in 2020. What should you really be doing? Where should you be putting your time and effort when it comes to marketing your business? When it comes to the sort of micro details of how do I actually set up a Facebook marketing campaign? How do I actually create content in video editing software? That's all available online. You can Google that and you can get answers to it really quickly. What I want to kind of give you today is a little bit more of the tactics and the strategy behind what you should be doing. George is along here with me, so we're going to be discussing a bit about brand importance, which platforms you should be using, content at scale, more about that as we get to it, podcasting like this, how to do it, what to do, influencer marketing, and there's some new stuff around Facebook coming out soon, and they're setting up an influencer marketing platform, and engagement focused content and its importance. So the first thing is brand importance, then, and the importance of brand building. And I think really in a nutshell, and again, chip in wherever with this, because we both work around different brands and we see the importance of it every day. But in a nutshell, as a business, you could have a really good product, you can have it at a really good price, you can be doing it quicker or faster or better than anyone else. But if people don't like your brand, you're not safe. You know, you need to build your brand, because somebody could come along and they could do it cheaper. They could come up with a new process that revolutionises it a little bit, and they're ultimately able to offer the product at a cheaper price. And before you know it, that customers then switch to them. Whereas if you focused on brand building and you've built trust, you've built loyalty, and you've got that relationship, and they love your brand, then you're actually more likely to retain them as a customer. So I think that's a really, really good thing for people to be thinking about. So I guess the first question somebody might have watching this is, what should I do to start building my brand? It's put you on the spot,
isn't it? Because obviously in the olden days, everyone was always very price focused when it comes to business, whereas nowadays it's completely flipped on its head, hasn't it? And brand is not just the business as a whole, it's more the people behind it, isn't it? It's everything to do with the business. It's just the day-to-day running, or what you offer, what you do, how you do it, and like your whole journey as a business, as a brand. So to actually start building a brand, I think you have to start with what you do. Just start from, just be you, be yourself, and just put that content out there that people maybe don't see that much on social media. Everyone always sees all the glammed up, the glittered content of like really fast cars, racing, cool montages, whatever. But if you show the people the gritty, the film work behind it, for example, the behind the scenes of a mechanic, the behind the scenes of a driving school, that kind of stuff, it actually really resonates with the customer, because they know you, they know your story and why you're good for them.
Yeah, and actually that's something we've seen results with some of our clients. We've done film shoots and we've posted pictures, haven't we, or you have, of the film shoot behind the scenes, and it's always one of the top ranking posts when we look back at the data. So behind the scenes, so really what we're saying is share this stuff. We've all got one of these. Yeah. It's so easy to do. Pick up your phone, record it, tell everyone what you're up to for the day. It feels unnatural to start with. You might feel like you're doing a rubbish job of it to start with, but
content's content.
Content's content, and you will get better at it over time. And hey, it doesn't live, it lives on that profile forever unless you delete it, I guess. But it soon drops down in the feed and it's gone, and people aren't going to be seeing it all day, every day. So it's just practice, make it.
And don't be too precious with your feed and how it looks, because it's not the end of the world, is it really? Sometimes people go over the top of making it look too pretty, too perfectionist.
It's one of Gary Vaynerchuk's things, isn't it? He says, don't treat your Instagram like an art gallery.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not an art gallery, it's a social media feed. You want to be putting content out there as much as you can for people to see it.
Yeah, and don't be scared to experiment as well, because there's no harm in doing it. If it doesn't work, don't do it again.
Yeah.
If it works, there you go.
That's it. And even when you find something that works, still do more of it, double down on it, but also keep a little bit of time and budget reserved to make stuff that's different from your norm. So that's things that we found are great ways to start building brand, and it's so easy to do behind the scenes because it literally can just be you at your desk talking about what you're doing that day. And if you think people don't want to see that or they're not going to be interested in that, that's just one person's opinion. That's your opinion. Who are you to decide that somebody won't enjoy that content? Even if 1 or 2 or 3 people enjoy it, and it ultimately, a year down the line, grows to something bigger and you start making customers from it, it's worth doing, isn't it?
Sure.
So
it's free.
And it's free, yes. Don't let me move on without saying that. So that's brand building. We could talk about that all day, but I think, like I said, I want to focus more on the bigger picture here. So one thing you need to be thinking with your business is brand building, okay? The next one is what platforms to use, and we get this a bit, and I've mentioned it a little bit in other podcasts. You know what my answers will always be to this, won't you?
Yeah, a very simple one at that.
Yeah, all of them. As many as you can, as many as you have capacity to make content for. Yes, absolutely, there are some platforms that are better to use than others for certain businesses. If you're B2B, then yes, LinkedIn is going to kill it for you. But that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't be thinking about TikTok content as well.
Yeah.
You know, because actually the company might be selling to, you know, 50-year-old women executives, something like that, let's just say. But actually, if you're putting content on TikTok, it might be their 15-year-old daughter that sees it, and you know they have a big influence actually over families' decisions. You know, so there's some really interesting sort of thought processes when you start thinking about it. But the simple answer is always yes. Put it on as many things as you can. I use the expression "it's free real estate" at the end of the day. Like you said, it's free. Yeah, it's free to use this stuff. It's free real estate. In the sense of you can put content in as many places as you like and as many people can see it as possible, or you can choose to go really narrow and just put it on one place and one platform where some people see it. It just doesn't, I never understand that.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it, just to do it, put it everywhere.
Cool, so any other sort of platform specific things that we should maybe mention or cover while we're talking about it? Certain content for certain platforms perhaps?
Certain content
or the process. So I'm thinking along the lines of how might you differentiate content from one platform to the next?
Well, of course, that's always the thing that you do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you make content, you can alter it, you can adjust it, and it doesn't actually take that much time to change the content. It's just, you basically have different audiences for different social media, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So you may have a younger audience on Instagram and an older one, or a more professional one on LinkedIn. So you're just tweaking your content to be a bit more professional, a bit more, I don't know what the word would be, but yeah, on LinkedIn would be an example of doing that, and it's so easy to do.
And yeah, so we make a piece of content and we do this, don't we? We adapt it for the platform. So
more hashtags on Instagram, a location tag on Instagram, things like that would be.
Yeah, that's good. So that's really good. So lots of hashtags on Instagram, location tags. Facebook, you can use hashtags, but it's not as relevant.
No.
People don't really search by hashtag quite the same way, do they? LinkedIn hashtags are working
Very
more
well.
now in 2020.
Yes,
We've noticed. So, and you'll sometimes see trending hashtags as well on LinkedIn more now that it's more of a prominent thing.
Yes, and then your post can be trending on them trending hashtags, which then means it gets shown to a lot more people.
Mm-hmm.
So by using the correct hashtags in the correct way, you then reach more people.
Yeah. So, and again, play, experiment, use different hashtags, see how it works. I've seen some mad fluctuations on Instagram just depending on what hashtags I use or don't use. But
in terms of engagement.
Yeah, in terms of engagement, you know, like massive percentage changes in the amount of likes, for example, on a post, which isn't the be all and end all. The main thing is that you're just putting it out there. But yeah, it's just interesting to see how it changes. So always be trying stuff and make a point of sort of almost noting it and thinking what worked and what didn't. So okay, that's the platform question sorted. Content at scale was my next point that I was thinking of trying to cover off. Kind of really goes part and parcel with that. And I think for somebody watching, the simple thing that I'm trying to say here is that you should be mass producing content at scale. Again, it's free to do it. You can put it on all these different platforms where there's different audiences and you can adapt it to these different people. But here's the really cool thing with this stuff. If you think about traditional advertising on a radio or a TV, you know, you've got to make a very vanilla advert that will maybe it will sit between a certain program where there's a certain demographic, but within reason you can only do so much. There's still loads of people going to watch that, and you have no idea really who watched it and who hasn't. And of course, most people these days just skip ads anyway on TV. Whereas with content marketing, you can actually target something so specifically. I could target a certain borough of London if I wanted. I could target people that are in and around Surrey.
Or a certain job role or an age.
Or a certain job role. I could literally, if you're selling a piece of software that's designed to help people in HR or accounting find revenue that they're losing paying for things they shouldn't be paying or don't need to be paying for, then actually you could go onto LinkedIn and you could target HR managers, or you could be targeting accountants within businesses. You can even target it to certain businesses. If you have somebody that works in the banking industry, you could target HSBC employees, NatWest employees. You get the idea. And then that way it kind of almost, you're targeting a business in a way.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you can get it right to those people, but you can literally start your message with to the director of the company or other people that are high up in management or board. You can put a piece of content out that says, does your HR manager know how much they're wasting on their HR software?
Yep. So you can completely cater your ad to anyone you want within reason.
You can't really do that as easily with other old traditional styles of marketing. So that's the beauty of this. And when we say content at scale, we're saying think about all the different niches that your audience could be in. So I do it sometimes. We make a video and I'll go, hello Instagram, hello Facebook, hello TikTok, and so on. Even just that's a bit more relevant. And the more relevant something is,
the more they engage with it, the more they connect with it.
And that's what we've seen in our results, isn't it?
100%.
So being specific, being relevant, and targeting effectively. And if you target some stuff and it has rubbish results, go again. These Facebook isn't rubbish.
No.
You're rubbish if it's not working. Practice and keep going, because there is a skill to it. And we're still not perfect. We're constantly trying to learn new things all the time. So that's a big part of content at scale. And another really good way to help create content at scale is literally what we're doing right now: podcasts. Okay, make a podcast, film it, and then you're more involved in this process now than I am of what happens after we press stop on that camera.
Go off, make a tea.
I go off and power down in a cupboard for the day. Cool. Tell us a bit about what happens at that point.
So a podcast, obviously, there's a lot to cover in 30 minutes or however long this podcast is. So, and there's always going to be little snippets of golden nuggets or whatever that you can find. So just by simply cutting it into little tiny clips, subtitling it, putting it onto every single platform, you now have, say, 100 pieces of content, whereas you only had one before, which you put on YouTube. So you're literally getting 100 times more content out of one piece of content. So by doing that constantly with every single piece of content that you make, you suddenly then start to make hundreds of pieces of content a day, and then you can just fire your message to your target audience or whatever.
Yeah.
So easy.
And that's it. So it's one big piece broken into lots of smaller pieces. And
you can do that with everything, not just podcasts. It can go blogs. Say if you had 10 time management tips, for example, you can then create 10 posts on your social media, which is just each tip, but broken down into 10 posts.
Snippets, yeah. And also another good way of utilising your podcast once you've done them, break them into smaller content, but then also you can put your podcast into blog form. I can write blogs if I want to, but I find it much easier to do this type of thing. But we have copywriters who will then start typing these up and putting them into blogs. And like I say, the content at scale is our biggest sort of plan or strategy for 2020 at the moment. And podcast is very much the spearhead of that. But then it breaks down into all these little things. So we're not even there yet. We're not where we want to be. We want to be putting more content out as InGear Media. And also from my personal brand point of view, I want to put more content out. But we're putting the process together, we're learning it. And like I said, that's what this for me is about, this episode, is I want to sort of share those tactics and what we're doing. Giving all our game away for free, basically, at this point of what you're doing with your business. Okay, so next couple of ones was influencer marketing. It's something that we've really only dabbled with in small amounts, but it is something that I see continuing to grow.
For sure, for the last 2 years, it's been phenomenal. Like, the amount of results that people are getting from influencer marketing alone is ridiculous.
And I think a lot of people still don't really know what it should cost yet. You know, some influencers might charge hardly anything, some will charge in the thousands per post, some are happy if you just give them a freebie.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a real kind of like I sort of sometimes I say sort of on the ground, sort of rummaging in the dirt trying to figure out what the tactics are.
I think it just does depend on your ad campaign and what you want to achieve, because you can go for a big scale influencer, you can go for a micro influencer, and they're two very different things that will give you very different results.
And actually, when it comes to it, I would always vote micro influencer over big influencer.
Unless you're a very big brand.
Unless you're a very big brand. But for me, a micro influencer wins because you can again be more specific and more targeted and more relevant to the
you can really
to the
relate
audience.
to your specific audience, can't you? Because it's someone that is a bit less well known and you trust them more, don't you? Just because of that.
And I always use the analogy, influencer marketing and a particular micro influencer is a bit like the popular kid in school. If you was going to have a party and you wanted to invite people to your party, if you could get the popular kid to come, loads of other people will come with them.
Yeah.
And that, in a nutshell, that's what influencer marketing is. So if you can get that person that is, you know, working in a busy office and there's a couple hundred people in an office, and you can maybe get them to start sharing your content, not only they're going to sell to their peers in that office, they might also be a bit of an influencer and a blogger anyway. That's the idea, and they have their network as well in the surrounding area, and it kind of sort of expands out from there.
Just extends your reach, doesn't it?
Yeah. And of course, they're going to want less money for that as well because they're smaller generally. So it's a really good way to just try something a little bit different. It works really great, of course, for things like beauty brands and people that have products that they can offer trials and freebies and so on. But it's not to say you can't do it for other businesses as well. So there's influencers in everything. I saw there's a guy who's an influencer who was doing work for a sawmill. You know, when we were looking up for some client research the other day, there's some people putting content out talking about how to correctly stack firewood and things like that on behalf of a company. You know, so again, you can go so niche and specific with this stuff, and the more narrow you can go in terms of your targeting, you know, the better. Yeah. But again, it goes down to your strategy has to be, if we draw back, you have to be thinking about all the different areas, and then how can you target content really hyper specifically to those people. So
networks.
Lots of it, but it goes very narrow what you make, and that's one of the biggest keys. So the other real thing that highlights this is Facebook, isn't it? They're launching their influencer platform soon, or might have already done it. I only really know surface level of this, but I've just made a note of it because I thought it just shows Facebook are putting a platform together where you can hire influencers through Facebook. So for me, that just shows again them wanting to be the people in control of this stuff. And if they're doing that, clearly there's a reason they're doing it. So that just again highlights further. So that will be something that we should keep an eye on for sure as 2020 progresses. So Facebook's influencer marketing platform, of course, that will then encompass Instagram.
It'll be interesting to see if that actually does nullify influencer marketing, or it like make it go nuts and be really valuable. Because if you see it a lot, maybe it is less useful. But then again, there's got to be a reason why Facebook's doing it. So
yeah. Well, I personally, I think the reason they're doing it would be, at the moment, the way influencer marketing works is I go, hey John, love your profile. Would you like to do some, paid ads for us? Yeah. We pay John some money. He then posts some of our content as agreed, and Facebook don't get any of it. Whereas if Facebook are the people in the middle, the toll booth as such, between you and the influencers,
that makes more sense, doesn't it?
They have control all of a sudden again, so they can then take their cut for how that works. So I think it will be good in the sense of helping it grow and make it easier, but perhaps it makes it a bit harder for us to do it on the guerrilla marketing tactic style method of just literally messaging people. And I've started to go down the road before with we're based in Surrey. Looking at people that post in Surrey, and if you want, you can go through and message them all and go, hey, would you like to do some stuff? Hey, would you like to do some stuff? And they're all the people that come up as the top posts if you search the tag Surrey or the location Surrey. And it's that easy. It's just literally sat here on Instagram, going through, looking at stuff, spending the time doing it.
Yeah.
You know, this is what should be part of your strategy now as a business. You know, it's as important as having somebody balancing the books.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that you're able to sit and actually think about this stuff. And then maybe I'd put a bit about engagement focused content. Again, you could probably fill in on there a bit more so than me.
Yeah, well, I think it does. This again depends on your business itself. If you're a B2B, you're maybe not going to focus on engagement as much. You're maybe going to focus on reaching those specific people that you want to see, for example, HR managers or whatever. But for a B2C normal brand, I think engagement is where a lot of the goodness is at. And I think if you don't get good engagement on your posts, I think the algorithm's going to really start to punish you in 2020 and not show your content to more people. You're not just because you're following them, you're not going to see it. It's only if people then start to engage with that content consistently that you're going to become higher up on the feeds. So I think content that maybe relates to the audience, and then, like we said before, with the behind the scenes and the actual raw content, I think that will be really useful going into 2020 because engagement is king, really. If people see, if you see a good friend of yours commenting and engaging with a brand, you're more likely to then trust that brand because of the
engagement.
Yeah.
So somebody's watching, they're thinking, okay, what is engaging content?
Well, engaging content is content that people like.
What do they make? What sort of stuff should they be making?
Engagement, I think, again,
I like putting you on the spot.
Depends what you're doing, again, but video for sure, obviously, is the best thing at the moment. Video works so well. Behind the scenes again. Video content of what you do, what your daily runnings are, tips that maybe actually giving value to the customer as opposed to just asking them for a sale. Giving them content like, here's a quick tip on how to check your tyre pressure, for example. Just giving them stuff that they would otherwise have to go for you to pay, if that makes sense. So if you're a garage and you give them the tips and the tools to actually change a tyre, for example, then they wouldn't actually have to go for you. So it feels like you're losing out on business when actually you're gaining trust and you're gaining that brand loyalty that you wouldn't otherwise have.
And in the long run, brand loyalty and value wins all the time in the long run.
Yes.
You know, so I
It's
totally...
not about short-term wins is it anymore.
No. And particularly now as the, millennials are now coming into the bracket of being the higher spenders, sort of early 20s, lots of spending power. And that's how they work. So this is why we're seeing this shift now, because they don't respond to, traditional sales and adverts and come look at this and get this special price and this now new discounted thing or service that we're offering. It's more about actually, this is how you do this is how you do that. Are you using our product this way or that way? Maybe you could try this. This might be better for you. Like you just said, the tyre pressure tip one is great for garages, or tips to, how to maintain your car in the winter. We've done content around that before, that you've put together, haven't you, for some of our clients that are car garages. So that always works well. People like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Giving, not asking.
Giving, yeah. Give as much as you can in terms of value. Like I say, it's no secret. This is exactly what we're doing right now. We're trying to put all the best information out there that we can.
It is obviously
to help people,
because it is very counterintuitive, isn't it? As a concept, you're giving away stuff that you could be charging for. It doesn't make sense, but then again, it is just brand and it's loyalty, and that's what you need.
Yeah. Cool. There we are, and I think that is the perfect time to draw close to this episode. Like I said, if you want to go deeper on any of those topics, it's just a Google search away a lot of the time. But that was, for me, I quite enjoyed just sort of going a bit more sort of macro level, looking down on what should we be doing. So that's it for this one. So thank you very much for watching as always. And as always, please do give us some ideas behind future content or any questions you have. We really want to get some more questions in, so we can be, again, specific and relevant to you that are watching. So please send them in, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.